community is ground zero for a national catastrophe.
Purdue will not move unless we punch hard.
This is not our fault. These people want to be addicted.
I want top executives to feel some pain.
It's crucial they understand we've created the greatest painkiller in the history of human civilization. I think I can make this the biggest drug in the world.
Danny, Jeff in Las Vegas, good afternoon.
Hey, how you doing? It's great to meet you.
Oh, it's great to meet you too, man. I really enjoyed Dopesick. I'm about 3 episodes in. Just it's so fascinating and depressing and sad at the same time. And I understand the series was inspired by Beth Macy's bestseller. Did you feel like a good place to start with the story was the Sackler family and who owns Purdue Pharma?
Yeah, I think in many ways, Purdue Pharma is the perfect place to start with this story because they're the ones that lied, manipulated, obfuscated, deceived their way into selling a highly addictive narcotic is practically non-addictive. This is the company that sparked the opioid crisis. They didn't just light the match, but they lit the match. They poured gasoline on it over and over and over again for almost 2 decades. I mean, it's as if they created sort of, in many ways, the con of OxyContin and the con of that opioids are safer, less addictive than how they've been throughout the history of time. When in fact, no, these are just addictive opioids like they've always been. So yeah, Purdue Pharma, I think, is definitely the center of this because they're the ones that caused so much of this destruction and then made billions of dollars doing it. And it seems as if they've gotten away with it. It's a truly shocking story.
Well, this crisis has many stories to it. Was it challenging weaving multiple stories that took place like over 20 years?
Yeah, it was extremely challenging, but it was a central concept of the show, right? Which was that the goal wasn't to tell one story. So this isn't just about the Sacklers and just about Purdue, but it's about, as much as we can in 8 hours, tell the totality of the opioid crisis. So that's why there are all these different stories intertwined. That's why we go to Finch Creek, where we go to this coal mining town and we see victims of OxyContin and of Purdue Pharma. And then we follow these U.S. attorneys, these prosecutors, as they build a case against Purdue. And as we're watching them build a case, we're able to see the evidence of the criminality of it. And then we go all the way into the halls of the Justice Department, and the halls of the DEA. And so you're able to show, from the street level of people suffering from this drug to people at the highest levels of the U.S. government that wittingly, unwittingly become enablers of Purdue to do what they did, as opposed to protecting the public from a company like Purdue.
Michael Keaton plays a small town Virginia doctor. He also serves as an executive producer. Was this a personal project for him?
Yeah, it was. It was a very personal project for him. He had lost a relative to an overdose. I think it was one of the reasons why he wanted to do the show, is that he wanted this story to be told. He wanted to get these facts out there, and it definitely was personal to him.
Yeah, because I think that's one of the most intriguing things about this series is that it affects everyone. Everyone has a story, including myself, multiple stories about people with addiction, about wrongful deaths. And so this crisis has touched everyone. And I just think it's just fascinating that you can trace the beginnings of this to a small town in West Virginia. It's like where I think the citizens, there was like prescribed thousands of pills per person. Did it come out to or something like that?
Yeah. Well, there was a number of towns like that. It was sort of these towns in Western Virginia and Eastern Kentucky, rural Maine. They were ground zero for Purdue Pharma's marketing campaign. They specifically targeted these areas because people who worked there had high labor intensive jobs. And so they were getting injured a lot on the job. So that's what a perfect place to go sell your new miracle drug. And it started there. In these small towns, and then abuse and addiction started growing in these areas and then started splintering out to the rest of the country. But these areas were certainly ground zero for Purdue's marketing campaigns.
And did you have to have any kind of legal concerns when you made this miniseries? Where did you have a team full of lawyers to make sure what you're saying was correct, that you didn't embellish, or that you weren't, bringing any kind of lawsuits? Because some big money's behind this in the pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah, no, definitely. This was probably the most combed over project by lawyers I've ever worked on. Hulu had a team of lawyers and fact checkers that I would have to go through every script with the fact checker, say, what is a true character, what's a composite character, what's exact dialogue, what is made up dialogue, did this scene really happen? And when we go through every script, and then the lawyers would come to me after that process and talk to me about the things they had problems with or were concerned about. And most of the time, things they had concerns about, I had really good sourcing for that they hadn't found or that the fact checkers hadn't found. So I would send them the sourcing, and then they'd be okay with it if there was sourcing from reputable journalists. And then sometimes they weren't okay with it, and we'd have a discussion. And sometimes I'd just back down and change it. I think that Hulu took a huge risk by doing this show, and I certainly don't want to get them in legal jeopardy. And I want the show to feel as factually accurate as a dramatization can be. So they weren't adversaries of mine. We were all working together to try to do right by the show, but it certainly was an intensive process of vetting every single script.
Well, the miniseries is Dopesick, streaming on Hulu. Danny Strong, thank you so much. What an incredible series, and very eye-opening and very important. And I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm excited for you to see the rest of the season.